Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. That's what it looks like. Well, I used to, because now I'm digital, but here's some more covers. Here's Chris from Mammoth Car Wash down in Louisiana. Tim Holton. Got a couple other guys behind me too. Anyway, thanks for chiming in and finding us on the web. Hope everybody's having a great week. Got Memorial Day weekend coming up next week. Summertime in the ATL. God, it's still really nice. It's going to be, I think, 93 tomorrow, but still no humidity. All the pollen's gone, so I've got, I'm don't aim green stuff on me, and been planting stuff out in the yard and getting all that stuff. So it's been really, really nice, and can't complain. And the lake is just jamming. You got to go out there during the week because all the powerboat idiots are out there on the weekend warriors, and you're just taking your life in your hands. So, other than that, it's national tournament for lacrosse season. My DU Pioneers got ousted by Villanova, so they're done in the tournament. Last weekend there were 16 teams, 8 games. Watched them all. The biggest one, best one of them all, last game. University of Delaware Blue Hens. They beat the number 2 Georgetown Hoyas, which actually beat University of Denver. They're in our league. Knocked them out of the tournament. Unbelievable. Unseeded team, and it always happens. So this weekend, quarter semis and Memorial Day weekend, we'll see the best team can take the trophy home for their school's trophy case. So may the best team win. I'm going to pull for the underdog. I'm going to pull for the Delaware Fighting Hens, and Maryland. They're undefeated. They're the big dogs. So whoever's going to beat them, they're going to probably be in the championship. But go Fighting Blue Hens! You do it, guys. You guys looked awesome. Won that game, unbelievable, and it's just some excellent lacrosse. So if you're a lacrosse guy out there this weekend, there's some really good matchups, and enjoy the lax on the lax green. So with that said, got a very nice lady out there in the Northwest in Bend, Oregon. Her name is Heidi Ellsworth. She's the president of RoofersCoffeeShop. It's a podcast, and they talk everything roofing. And we've known each other a long time, over the years, and from a publicity PR side of things, and helped me with a bunch of clients. We do a roofing, issue. We just had a roofing issue a couple issues back. Anyway, we thought it'd be really good to have Heidi on because she has a lot of contacts, and she's got her own podcast, and she can kind of give us a sense of, what's going on out there, especially being on the West Coast, but, having national coverage. And so Heidi, say hello to our Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans out there.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hey, no, welcome. It's we've known each other so many times, all these years, and then we both have podcasts, and it's like, the podcasting, gig is different because, it's not competition. It's getting the word out. So it's a different thing. It's not like another magazine interview, that would never happen.
I know.
It just wouldn't happen. It's just like, so it's kind of a cool gig. So
it's great because we can all share, and we have different markets and people out there who are listening today. Thank you so much. I love talking about roofing, and I know that's a really important part of your world. It's what keeps you all safe and sound. And so, and to be able to be on here, David, thank you. It's great.
Hey, you're welcome. Hey, listen, I always say it's the roof and the floor and everything in between. But if you don't have a safe floor, you're retail, hospitality, federal healthcare, whatever it is, you're not going. And if you got leaks in the roof, you can't operate you got slip and fall going on the floor. So the roof, the floor, serious things to think about when you're in, commercial construction, let alone residential. It doesn't matter. You don't want any leaks.
Right.
So, I know
everybody needs a roof over their head. That's safe and sound.
I actually, the reason why we're on here, I reached out to you because I had one of my clients that had a big box store up in the Seattle area that had a leak, and they needed to get it fixed, and the labor shortage, and I was like, hey, I need a roofer, so he hooked me up with this guy, and I hooked up, and I know they got the job done. I don't know who got it, but it's retail. They can't have a leak in the store, and the drywall.
No. And right now there's so much going on with roofing and backlogs and everything that's happening that it's kind of it's hard to find those contractors. So you need to have a little bit of connections like you.
Yeah, well, you too. Like I said, I reached out to you because this guy reached out to me. I'm like, hey, I'll make a couple calls. He wanted a roofer. He wanted a contract. I'm like, I'm just trying to help you get the thing done. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want anything happen to the contract, and so anyway, the gentleman that you hooked me up with, he came back to me. Boom, I love when that happens.
I
And then
love
I hook
it.
him up with that guy, and then I kind of step away from it. Let you two
Yeah.
talk and figure it out.
Yeah. Travis Brown, one of the best roofing contractors in Oregon. Yeah.
No,
Brown,
boom,
yeah.
man. He came back, and said, hey, I'll call you, and then this and then he goes, oh yeah, I'm familiar. Oh, let me talk to this guy. And, so anyway.
So good. And you know what? I got to say it right. Travis Nelson with Brown Roofing. So that's who that is. Yeah.
Hey, I got so many names that probably happen to me every day. So, well, here's how our gig works here, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. We want to know where you grew up, where you went to school, you got any sisters or brothers, siblings, cats, dogs, played sports, and your journey on how you got where you are today. And then we'll talk about the last, roller coaster over the last 24 months and lessons learned. And then, we'll close it out with a positive thought or phrase. So with that said, the floor is yours. Miss Ellsworth, tell us your story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, it's kind of interesting because we talk about this all the time in roofing. No one ever really expects to go into roofing. If you talk to almost anybody who's in roofing, unless they come from a generational family, no one really thinks that. So, but I was actually born into the trades. My dad was a general contractor and my mom and dad ran a business out of Central Oregon where I grew up. And
not a logger, not general contractor, not a logger,
No, general contractor. Building houses. My dad did light poles. He did concrete uniting. He did big commercial buildings as big as they can get in Central Oregon, which is pretty small. And he traveled all over the Eastern Oregon doing jobs and pumping concrete and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up in a general contracting family.
Did you go out on the jobs with your dad or?
I did. I tended to be more the painting person. That was my job. So they'd get the jobs done and then I'd come in and do the detail work and finish up the painting. My brother always seemed to be so I have a brother and a sister. My brother was always more on the front end. He had to dig the ditches and do all the dirty work. So I kind of liked the painting part of it. It was kind of nice and quiet for me.
Hey, someone's got to do it. Why not?
That's right.
No, bro,
right.
Get the hard stuff done and then I'll come in and make it all look beautiful for you.
Exactly.
Touch.
Yeah. And we actually got up on a couple of roofs growing up. So my dad did everything across the board. So I had a little bit of roofing in there before. But I didn't think I wanted to stay in the trade. So I went to school and actually have a degree in communications management from University of Portland out of Portland, Oregon, and thought I wanted to go into nonprofit. And so did the nonprofit gig for about 5 years and working at it's high school in Portland, Oregon, Jesuit high school. And then was like, nah, nonprofit's not really my thing, and went to work for Malarkey Roofing Company. So
cool.
Yeah.
Know the name.
Awesome shingles, awesome build-up roofing. They manufacture, when I was there, just out of Portland, but now they're out of LA, Oklahoma. They're national. They were just bought by Wholesome, which is a big international company. Anyway, side note. But so my husband and we kind of did the track on in the roofing world. So I was with Malarkey. Then I had my own agency, HJA Marketing.
That's where we met. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where we met. So I bought advertising from you. And I also worked mostly just with roofing companies, contractors, distributors, manufacturers, and did a lot of ads with you, David. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And then went to Carlisle, where I continued to work with you. So Carlisle, through a couple of acquisitions, ended up buying my company. So I worked with them for a long time, about 12 years, and was in charge of their marketing and marketing communications, and then went to Eagleview. And so for those of you out there who don't know what Eagleview is, they're a technology company that measures roofs. So from aerial imagery, they measure roofs. Very active in roofing, landscaping, you name it, everything exteriors. And so I helped, as a startup, help launch them into the industry. So, and my family, so I have my husband and 2 kids, James and Megan. We all moved to Carlisle, Pennsylvania for a while, but then came back to Oregon. So kind of a little personal side. We took our dog. You asked about dogs and cats. We had Oat, our dog, and when he went back to Pennsylvania with us. And but then we came home to Oregon, and this is where we've lived most of our lives. And I worked with Eagleview, and then Roofers Coffee Shop came about, and I had the opportunity. I'd actually helped Vicky Sharples, who had a magazine or a newspaper called Roofers Exchange, and she wanted to take it online. And so in 2002, I helped her launch Roofers Coffee Shop online. So we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Roofers Online, was it just the magazine, and then you got into the podcasting gig? Because podcasts have only been around so long.
I know. So it was started out as a newspaper, then it went online as a website. And so we've had the website since 2002. And then now we have the website, we have podcasts. So we do our roofing road trips, which you'll be on. We also do stories from the roof podcasts. And then we also have video, YouTube, TikTok, all the social media. We do, as long as it's digital, we do it across the board. So, and it's all about roofing all the time. And we get into some siding and building envelope and waterproofing too.
I started my business in 2001. So, we're both still standing at the same time.
I know.
And listen, and I've gone through the transformation from, leaving Nielsen, going out on my own, and, the print, doing the shows, this and that, then the crash, then this and now this, and then I had to make the decision to, what do I do? When everything got shut down in March of 2020, and now I'm pretty much 100% digital, and not missing the traveling, not missing the shows. I'm pretty much virtual, and I miss seeing my buds. So so I did my first in-person event back in December out in Phoenix, and I'm going to bring my cocktail parties back, but there's still only certain states that I can go to where there's some states still kind of. I was just talking to a guy today. He's out of New York.
Yeah.
Telling me, he goes, well, I always fly out of Newark. So he's in New York, and he goes, I have to go into I normally will catch the train out there. So I don't wear a mask, but when I go into the Port Authority of New York, I have to put my mask on. But then when I get on the train, I don't have to wear a mask. But then when I get off the train to get the train over to Newark, I have to put my mask back on. But then when I go on into the airport, I have to put my mask on. But then when I get on the plane, he's telling me all this. I'm like, oh my God, that's just, just make a decision, You see, I'm
it's
laughing.
so true.
I have to laugh at this. This is what he told me. He goes, David, you don't understand, man. It's off, on. It's like, and,
you just carry it in your pocket all the time. I still have it with my mouse with me, even though I've been flying, we haven't had to use it, but it's out there. I mean, you never know. And sometimes out of the blue, they'll say, can I see your vaccination card? And I'm like, thank God I carry it with me. It's like, it's so weird. It's just,
But listen, I was in Georgia, so I was like kind of in an open state. So look, I just like listening to this story today. He was just telling me, he goes, yeah, you can't believe it. I get on this, I take it off, I take it off, and I'm like, oh my God. And well, anyway,
so funny.
But it's amazing that over all these years, we're still standing.
I know.
For all the little, hiccups and all this other stuff. And
we're still working together, still doing things, helping support each other. That I always tell people, when you come into construction, don't burn bridges, because you're probably going to work with them next week. Right. It's just everything comes around. And especially, as you get into the sub trades in roofing, everybody knows everybody. And so, plus it's just a lot more fun to have fun and work with people in a positive manner. So.
No, absolutely. And, I don't listen, heights don't really bother me. So I probably could have been a roofer, but I would definitely want to have the tether on me. And,
safety first.
Oh yeah. And I sold my house last year. So when we had the roof inspected, I went up there and, and the guy's like, you sure you want to go up there? And I'm like, nah, listen, my family has been in construction. I remember when I had to go on and unhook the crane over the painting shed that I just welded. And, it's about 30, 40 feet above the railroad tracks that I had laid. And, the superintendent's like, Dave, you got to go up there, man. Your grandfather's here, Big Sid's here looking at you, with the owner. And I'm like, Dominic, I am not going on top of that shed, man. He goes, don't you trust your welds? And I'm like, you know how hard it's going to hurt if I fall through there? He goes, Dave, your grandfather's in there. You're going to have dinner with him tonight, man. I'm telling you, get up there.
You better go do it.
Went up there, unhooked the thing. I'm thinking, God, please hold, you know,
Yeah.
and came back down, you know, and then at dinner, he's like, hey, nice job going up there. Cause that was pretty gutsy, you know,
Yeah.
you know, without each other, you know, back before, you know, this is like 19, let's see, I was 16. So, just had got everybody, once you got your driver's license in outside of Philadelphia, where I grew up, all the grandsons had to work in the scrapyard. So, you know, I did everything, you know, burnt steel, shoveled asbestos, knocked down buildings. We were demolition. Anyway, we built these paint booths for this train company that was sandblasting and repainting the cars, but they needed this track. And anyway, long story short, you know, we got the job and
Yeah.
But I still remember going on top of there and I'm looking down going, oh my God, man, if I hit those train tracks, man, it's going to freaking hurt.
It's gonna hurt. Well, you know, when I first started out, I had my own agency, like I said, I would take the kids with me a lot of times. So I would have two little ones and they would go, one was in a backpack and the other one I was holding his hand, and we'd go up and flat roofs. We did not climb on steep pitch, but you know, I have pictures of us on top of flat roofs in Portland, Oregon. So things are a lot different 30 years ago when I was doing a lot of that. But yeah, it's, you know, I've climbed a lot of roofs. Roofs.
My you know, we sold our house. We have a piece of land at the lake. We are now not building because everything's so freaking expensive. You can't find the product. So I'm just sitting here, you know, in our little kind of empty nester house. Well, my neighbor, he's a retired New Jersey fireman, and last weekend he was up on the second story of his roof, and he was getting rid of some hornets' nests or whatever. And my wife's like, "Oh, Richie, be careful up there." And I'm like, honey, he's a fireman. Believe me, he's been way higher than that. And he laughed at her. He's like, "Don't worry, Kristen, I'm okay." And he's like, "Okay, you know." And I'm like, "He's been way higher than that, you know, in smoke with all the equipment,
with everything else."
Yeah, believe me.
Now there's a job I wouldn't want.
Yeah, I think he's more worried about the hornets coming than he is, you know, taking a little So
I love it.
So now that we have your story, and you know, came from construction, which is awesome. You're on the sites, you know, you had your brother and your sisters, you know, and you had anything going on. You brought your kids on there, so they saw, you know, all the hard work and the family heritage. That you know, let's talk about like the last 24 months. So, you know, I know I had my 10th anniversary summit in January in Jacksonville of 2020. Most people I ever had. February, I had my first cocktail reception down in Coconut Grove, took a tour of this shopping center that was getting renovated, ended up in this bar called the Barracuda Bar. I had a great time. Fly next month in Milwaukee. I'm looking at hotels for my retreats in the summer. Then everything gets shut down and, you know, oh, it's going to give me a couple of weeks, you know, but here we are now 2 months later and, you know, the country's basically opened up. But during that time, it was a roller coaster.
Right.
And depending on what state you were in, you know, the regulations and all these different things that you had to go to, you know, to deal with, you know, what was going on, that coming from the roofer side, you know, talk about, you know, like some of your clients and just the nature of what's, you know, the roofing companies had to go through, you know, in that roller coaster.
It was very hard. And at the same time, in the roofing industry, we are essential workers because you have to have roofs. So a lot of our contractors really didn't have hardly any slowdown. And once everybody started staying at home, the remodeling industry just exploded. Right. So we're on the commercial side, everybody's kind of not there in the buildings, but on the residential side, there was huge amounts of demand and created enormous backlogs for roofing contractors. Everybody wanted a new roof. They wanted to fix up, do their siding, windows, whatever it is, external. But even on the commercial side, there was a lot of companies that were saying, and you all will know this better listening, but they were saying, hey, all of our employees, they aren't here right now. Let's do some work. Let's get some stuff done. So we actually saw the roofing industry never really slowed down. It had some moments. It definitely had some moments at the beginning. But what we found is we all came together. One of the things we launched in March of 2020 was coffee conversations. So like you have coffee talk, we have coffee conversations, and coffee conversations was basically an opportunity for contractors, for the roofing industry overall, to come together every week with Q&A and talk about what was going on. So we would have the National Roofing Contractors Association, we would have legal, we would have all, people who knew what was going on, and we were talking about it. And that's what we really, I think that was one of the things that happened that was probably the silver lining, right? Is that even though we couldn't see each other at trade shows and we couldn't see each other at different events, everyone was coming together online. And so just like you found, David, it's a digital world. And so we were already 100% digital on many platforms, online webinars, on our site, on our podcasts and everything. So we were able to kind of really help to communicate and bring people together throughout that time. And the roofing industry continues to this day are doing very good. And I mean, there's been a lot of things, but the material shortages lately were just terrible for the industry. But because there was so much backlog, it's still going. It really hasn't slowed down. There may be some who didn't manage it well, who have had problems with their businesses, but overall, the roofing industry stayed pretty tight throughout the last 24 months and through everything that went, because if it wasn't one thing, it was another. But at Roofers Coffee Shop, we've really seen that. We've seen that resilience, that tenacity of the industry, and really taking care of their customers. One of the things that I've heard and I've seen with contractors that I really love is they'll say, well, we can't get any ISO or TPO, right, for the roof. They're working with their building owners and they're working with their facility managers to say, okay, this is what we can do now to keep you dry and safe. And then we'll come back when materials get here, or maybe this solution will be enough for another couple of years. And then material, because we all know prices are going to come down eventually and everything's going to, rotate through the roller coaster, like you call it. And so I've really seen a lot of connection between the roofing contractors and their building owners, especially on negotiated work, on the homeowners. They're all working together to try to get through all the things that have been thrown at us in the last 24 months.
It's amazing because if you don't get the roof on, you can't do a lot of the stuff interior on,
Exactly.
house, at the house, you get the frame up, you get the roof, and then they can start doing some stuff inside. But without the roof, you're not going to get it. Same thing, whether it's a big box or a shopping center or whatever it might be, hotel.
Right.
They got to get the roof on because nothing else is going to happen.
And they've had to kind of look at different solutions to get that roof on, because it can't always be, I've talked to contractors who are doing more spray foam instead, so they don't have to do as much ISO, or they're doing different types of insulation because of the material shortages. So it's been really interesting, the creativity and the tenacity that have come out of the last couple of years.
Talk about some of the the protections and liability was such a huge issue over the last 24 months. Who's going to be liable if something happens with someone getting sick and all that kind of stuff. But
right.
Talk about how the roofing industry kind of coped with that in dealing, because a lot of times, like when the country's closed down, the last thing that okay, I'm a big box guy, I'm supposed to build 20 projects. Here's the roofer calling me. These projects are going to go on. They don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to answer an email, and they kind of because hey, you know what? Those projects are on hold. I know you bought all that material, but I put out, those things aren't going to start for another 180 days. Or we can do the project, but I went from 30, now I'm going to pay you. I can go down all the scenarios that went on, because I've talked to so many people over the last 2 years that whether they were architects, engineer, manufacturers, the end users, those conversations were all going on. Plus, hey, what about safety protocol? Depending on what state you're in, right? But roofing, you're outside for the most part, so you're not a plumber inside, with social distancing and all that other stuff that went on. But talk about kind of how that, because it's a roofing community, so everybody. Right. So I'm sure they all talk to each other, right?
They did, and a lot of times that talk was happening on our platform where we were talking about this, because and I'll just be honest, one of the big things that had to happen with a number of roofing contractors was reviewing their contracts. So those contracts had to, have price escalation in them. They had to talk about if they're requiring vaccinations for workers coming on the roof, how's that going to work? So there was a lot. We work with a great construction lawyer, Trent Cotney, who is amazing. And he talked to the community, the roofing community, nonstop, really sharing, this is what you need to be doing. So this is what you need to do for OSHA to make sure that you're safe on the roof. Do you need to have washing stations? How are you keeping social distance? And we're lucky because we're outside, so it's better. And also we were deemed essential workers in the roofing industry, so that made it better. But then as the pricing came around, the escalation, the labor shortage, because you had people sick and you had people like what you said is 100% true. A building owner thought they were going to have it here, right? New construction, they thought it was going to be roofed here, but all of a sudden there's no workers, there's no product, and the pricing has totally changed.
And the margins just went to zip.
Yeah, went to nothing. Mm-hmm. And so they're trying to get change orders in. They're trying to make sure that they have a healthy, safe crew, that everybody's able to work. So yeah, and I think the real trick, the people who have succeeded throughout all this have had strong communication. And that is when you listen to the NRCA, when you listen to Trent Cotney, when you listen to pretty much any of the thought leaders within roofing, all they said time over time again is communication. You have to be communicating with your customers. You need to be transparent and you need to tell them exactly what's happening. And I think the contractors who did that have seen success and have happy customers who are going to stay with them. The ones who didn't do that are the ones who now are having problems. And it's communication both ways, right? Communication with the building owner or the facility manager or the general contractor, or communication with the manufacturers. So there were manufacturers out there who weren't communicating either and leaving the contractors out in the cold. And so that was a lesson learned throughout that time, is that good relationships, good, strong relationships and good communication really overcame a lot of the problems. And it doesn't mean it happened any faster, because it can only happen as fast as the labor and the materials and the costs are, working. But with the communications between manufacturers, distributors, contractors, and then end users, our customers, those are the ones who really succeeded in this time. And actually, I think have set themselves up for great success going forward, because their customers know that they can count on them.
Over the 24 months, there was I like using hoteliers as an example. Yeah. Even though their hotel might have been shut down, they were kind of hush hush under the radar, but they were painting, or at least the smart ones were. They were putting in new fixtures, they were fixing the roof. Right. So when the company did open up, they had basically a whole new hotel, or the facelift, gave it a nice facelift, and
all fresh.
Exactly. And it was funny because I looked at a hotel for my event for the following year in Fort Lauderdale, and they had just opened it up, and it had gotten whacked by the hurricane before, and they bought the building, and it was a developer's first hotel. He's out of New York. Anyways, beautiful hotel, and then they just opened it, and then boom, everything got shut down, and then everybody got laid off, and I really liked the hotel, and I said, look, keep in touch with me, and I'm gonna see what's going on. And she just reached out to me. She said, hey, are you gonna bring your show back? I'm like, I don't know. I made it a hybrid event. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kind of play. I want to see how everything kind of happens over the next couple of months, and I'll get back to you. And I still really don't know what what the amazing thing was me, talking about liability. As an event person, I had to when I went down to Florida, and in February, I took, did all these tours, and I picked up 3 hotels that I wanted to deal with. And then the pandemic, and they all wanted me to sign the contract. I'm like, I'm not signing that contract. I'm not even protected. I got to have the CDC guidelines put in there. And and so I was talking to this, I'm not gonna mention any hotel chains, but I was talking to this girl, young, probably didn't know anything. And I said, have you ever looked at the CDC website? do you understand there's orange, red, green, yellow, and, I need all of that put in there,
Yeah.
you're not taking any liability. I have to buy plane tickets. I have to do all this stuff. You guys buy my food like 3 or 4 days before the event. You don't buy it
Right.
6 or 7 months. You just worry about your hotels.
Yeah.
I'm taking all the risks. So this is a two-way street. This is uncharted waters. So you have to protect me, because if my brands are not allowed, and believe me, there were travel bans put on people. You're not allowed to
Oh,
travel.
yeah.
If I can't get people to come to my event, whether it's on the vendor side or the sponsor side or my attendee side, I can't have an event, so I have to be protected. And it was like pulling teeth trying to get that on there. And
Yeah.
my corporate attorney he's been with me for like 20 years. He's like, Dave, you need to get that in there. And I get the,
Yeah.
no. Hey, send them this paragraph. This is what we want in there. And they were like, I'm like, look, if you can't put that in there, I know that when the country opens up, there's going to be hotels with their arms open. Please, I will take you.
Yeah, exactly.
But the smart ones, they were working behind the scenes to get all that stuff. And
Contracts really became even more important than they've ever been before. It's amazing. And understanding what's in your contract. And that's what a lot of the contractors talk about. But there's also a push, right? For a general contractor, they don't want that stuff in the contract, that the roofing wants. And really at the end of the day, the owners, the building owners, they just want a roof, and they want it in good quality, and they want it on time. And so you have so many different ways that things are being juggled.
Oh yeah. It's funny, when I sold my house was 17 years old. It's my third house in here in Atlanta. And we always, maintained it well. And all the people that were going to buy my house, they were like, oh, we need a new roof. I'm like, no, we went up there. Okay.
Yeah,
And I had all the hailstone guys come up there. Oh,
yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Listen, I don't care what you did, but I'm telling you, my roof, the Allstate guy came up and looked at it, and he said, Mr. Corson, your roof's got another 10 years on here easily. Whoever installed this was the best roof that was installed. All your neighbors, they all need their roofs redone.
Yeah.
Your roof is fine. But you try telling the buyer that they don't believe you. I'm like, look, I've been here 17 years. I've never had a leak.
Right. Now, what kind of roof? What kind of roof is it?
I was just had shingles, and
asphalt shingles. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, when I went up there, I said, oh, look, there's a couple nails that probably need to get, pounded back in, but that was it.
Yeah.
And believe me, we had the hurricanes come through and the winds and, but I went up there and I was like, wow, this looks pretty good, and he goes, yeah, man, this is like the best thing that was built on this freaking house. And, so, people are like, oh, you need, I'm like, no. The roof is cool,
who wants a hassle? It's a hassle to get re-roofed. I mean, it really is. No matter how great they make it, no one really wants to get have their house re-roofed. It's
what the most amazing thing was, when the inspector came in, when we had the offer put in finally, they came in like 2 days later. They wanted the inspection done, and I was like, fine, but we had maintained the house. We had repainted it. I did the first thing I did when things shut down, I redid the deck myself. But if I did it today, it would have cost 3 times as much. For lumber, anyway. But the guy came through. He goes, normally I'd be here all day on a house this size, but dude, man, you've maintained this house, man. I'm gonna be out here before noon. And,
nice.
So what was funny, I was up on the 3rd floor, and I had the windows open. It was during, it was nice out, and there I could listen to him out there, and the inspector's like, Mr. So-and-so, listen, this house has been maintained. You just need to do the same thing. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay, you fix it when it breaks.
Yeah.
Right? Other than this house there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, they had a couple little things that they wanted done, and I just did them. But but that was I was thinking, oh my God, $15,000-$20,000 for another roof, and sure enough. He's like, no, everything's cool. And he had the drone. He went up there, the inspector, he's a really cool dude, and I was transparent. I had done the basement, and my wife and I acted as we did it ourselves. And I said, hey, look, there's a GIF, circuit down there. One of the receptacles is out. I got to replace it. So I'm going to tell you up front, man, I'm going to get that done. He goes, oh, thanks. I would have found it anyway. I go, I know. I'm just telling you, look, I went through to make sure all the sockets, because I just finished the basement. And for one reason, I didn't switch out the old one with the new one, and, it needed to be replaced. So, But I know you're going to find you
You're
gotta
always going to find something. They have to
find something,
Yeah.
And it was ticky tacky stuff,
Yeah.
But the roof I was worried about, but then it did come in, and so.
And that makes it nice when you're when you're selling. That's what you want.
Yeah, and but I'll tell you, selling the house, getting out of the big, the trophy house, and now we bought a piece of land up on the lake, and we were supposed to break ground last September, but everything has just been so expensive, and labor. But you were talking about the residential side. My wife's an interior designer.
Oh, nice.
She is gangbusters. I don't know how. She's got like 4 or 5 projects going on right now. And she does basements, kitchens, faceovers, bathrooms, and it's been all word of mouth. And she's like, I but her subs have stuck with her. That was
that's important. Yeah.
Because everybody was trying to find, tile and millwork and flooring and painting. And so, I just said, you make sure you pay those guys, because they know that they get paid. Buy them lunch, and you make sure that, and you will stick them, because there's other contractors that are trying to get them.
They're going to steal them. Yeah. Because the labor shortage is real. There is just, it's real.
Yeah. So, are there any cool new products out there in the roofing industry that are fans out there in commercial construction?
Yeah. Well, I have to give a shout out to both Tesla and JF for their solar shingles. Super cool. The solar shingles are coming on. And so watch for that. The other, the other thing is so how asphalt roofs or build up roofs on flat, they all have granules, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 3M does granules, and they are doing some really amazing things for roofing. So they have granules now that are called bright white. And so what that is highly, highly reflective, both on flat and steep slope. It's incredible. I mean, what they're doing with reflectivity. And then the other thing 3M's doing, which I think is super cool, is they've actually come out with a granule that has smog reducing granules. So it for every square of roofing that goes on with these granules on it, it's actually equivalent to planting like 10 trees.
Oh, nice.
I might be off a lot, but it is total carbon neutral. And in fact, it's it's negative, because it helps to reduce smog. So if you get a chance, Malarkey has these shingles, and I'm just saying they're the only ones who have it right now, but 3M is the ones doing the granules. Incredibly cool. And then there's just a lot of great new technology too. We're seeing a lot, like with the aerial measurements that we talked about, that helps measure the roof, but they're also using that.
The drone thing is just
the drone thing.
It made everything so much easier.
Yeah. And we're really hearing a lot. In fact, I'm going to be at Texas A&M next week. I'm doing some touring there, where there's just a lot going on with robotics. And so with such a labor shortage, robotics is going to be the next big boom. We're just never going to be able to have enough people, even if they opened immigration, which would be nice. There's still labor is so critical in construction. So it's going to be, we're going to be looking for replacements by robots. Let's be honest, that's what's going to happen next. And so we're starting to see a lot of people asking questions about that, some very beginnings of robotics on the roof. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I was on a podcast with a PM, and he was talking about, when they were putting up the drywall, and that now they have robots coming in there, and everything is perfect. Everything's in line. And once, if you was doing by hand, you look down and you're like, oh, wow, it's a little off the robots. Everything is consistent. But the biggest thing is someone's got to build that robot. A robot's not going to build a robot.
Right.
A person.
Well, not yet.
Not yet. But, so it's not, so, it's one of those things. And
when you go into the manufacturing plants, it's amazing how much they're using robotics. I mean, going into the fastener, I've been, I tour a lot of the plants with fasteners, or obviously roofing membranes, but also edge metals. They're all using robotics in the plants to make these materials. And so, wouldn't surprise me, soon robots will be making robots. Maybe not soon, but in our lifetime, probably, David.
One of my clients, they're opening up they're retailers, and they're building a distribution center down here in Atlanta. And he was having some issues with the county, so I knew one of the contacts over there, and he gave it to him anyway. They came down here and they decided, you know what, with the labor shortage, we're not going to be able to staff this plant. So they looked at how they could, when they're building the plant and the floor, they're going to bring in robotics to do all that stuff.
Yep.
And he said, oh my God, I think we're going to do this. Now, when they saw it in action, they're like, oh my God, I think we should do this everywhere.
And it opens up the labor pool too, because when you think about traditional manufacturing, it's all about muscles, or even in roofing, it's all about muscles, right? And so it kind of took out some people, mainly women, who wanted to be involved. Now what I see out there is, because of robotics and because of automations and what's going on, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter how strong you are. In fact, with OSHA regulations, it doesn't matter. You can only lift so much with the rules. And so what you're seeing is these exoskeletons that help lift, that are doing all these different things, both in manufacturing and now on the roof. So that's opening up the labor pool too. So when you have 50% of the population that traditionally has not been part of roofing or the trades or construction, now that has opened up. I mean, I was the founder of National Women in Roofing, and diversity and getting more people into roofing is our key plan. And it's just, you can't believe how much that's changed. The hiring of women into construction and the leadership roles. And then it kind of goes hand in hand with the technologies.
At my summit in January, I had a guy, Stanley was the backer of this thing called Rock the Trades. And they were trying to teach people how to plant the seeds to go out into schools.
Yes.
And, at like 7th or 8th grade, to let them think about, hey, look, you don't have to do the 4-year college thing. You can go to school. Like my son, he went to aircraft mechanic school. 2 years, 22, working at Boeing. And Lockheed Martin just offered him some 6-figure unbelievable job. I said, look, just stay there, finish your contract. And but it's just insane. And there's been I've been on my podcast, I've been interviewing more and more women that are in construction. I just had this little girl, she was like 4'10", and she's in flooring, and she was talking about this high rise she was doing in New York, and the elevators could only lift 1,000 pounds, and the pallets they brought for 2,500. So all these bags of cement or adhesive, whatever they were doing in there, that she had to, and all these guys are looking at this little girl, and they're like, you're gonna unload those things. So, well, who else is gonna do it? I'm gonna do it.
And of course I can do it.
Yeah, she's probably 100 pounds soaking wet on a rainy day. But there you go. Women power. I love it.
Yeah, things are changing, and we love it. It's good.
So if you had one positive thought or phrase that you would want to leave with our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk land, what would it be?
You sent me this question ahead of time, so I've been kind of thinking about this, and the word that just continues to come to my mind is kindness. I think we need more kindness in the world to each other and overall. So and I think unfortunately that hasn't been learned by some through all of this, but I think a majority of people have learned it. I mean, when you have the things that have happened in the last couple of years and that are happening now, let's be serious, we could do with a lot more kindness.
Hey, look, you can get a lot more done with honey than you can, whatever that saying is, and
then vinegar.
Listen, you could be constructive and get your point across, but be kind when you do it.
Yeah.
And, listen, I get no all the time. It's an advertisement. Hey, thanks. I'm going to leave this on the table for you. If your plans change, and then you might hang up and you go, oh God, I hate that. The deal. So.
And then you just say they'll come back.
Yeah.
They'll want to be here because of these podcasts. This is so much fun. Who doesn't want to be involved?
I just had a person, for one of my profiles. I couldn't get on the first one, and then I looked at the thing. I sent her to in the middle of April. I'm going to get this stuff to you. And then I emailed her. I said, where's this stuff? Oh, I'm like, look, I'm going to replace you. I hate to tell you that, but I did it nicely. I said, I'm going to find a replacement, and maybe I'll find something for you down the road. But, I'm on a deadline too. I'm on schedule. You said you're going to get it. I can't hold your hand.
Right. No.
And it's just like today, my internet went out. So I wasn't sure we were going to do this thing. So it's,
Here we
for that boom, it worked out. So my internet, technology. So kindness, I got to like it.
Kindness. Yeah. Kindness. Okay. I'll tell you my second word, tenacity. Tenacity. That's the other thing I've learned. I think people need to be more tenacious. They need to not just quit. They need to stay with it. And maybe that's what we deal with in sales every day. But I'm just like, those are my two things, kindness and tenacity.
Okay, commercial construction coffee talk people, be kind, but be tenacious. Okay?
Yes.
And,
yes.
And you're going
life is good.
You made this far. So Heidi, if someone wanted to get in touch with you and talk roofing or talk about being kind or tenacious, how would they get in touch with you?
Super easy. So the website is RoofersCoffeeShop.com. That's the best place to go. You can find the podcast there. You can find all of our information, videos, everything. And just email me, Heidi, Heidi, at RoofersCoffeeShop.com. It's that easy. Heidi at RoofersCoffeeShop.com. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Hey, listen, I've known Heidi for a long time. She knows her stuff. And now I know she came from a construction, family. So she knows her stuff and she can point you in the right direction and maybe, talk about these new solar panels and,
and I will tell you this too. Sorry, I just thought of this. So we have our sister site that we launched last year is called Ask a Roofer. So if any of your audience has a question about roofing, all you have to do is askaroofer.com and come on. And we have roofers all over the country who will answer your questions.
Awesome.
For free.
Yeah. There you go. Woohoo.
Yeah.
If any of you want to get in touch with me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. I'm always looking for stuff. Listen, I had another 2.3 million people hit my website again last month. I'm looking for content. I'm posting every night from 10 to 1 in the morning. My wife's like, "Are you done yet?" No, I'm like, "Oh,
wow."
And that's the most amazing thing, making the transition from print to digital. And like you, I had a digital magazine forever. I just ignored it. I didn't know I had 15 or 20,000 pages of content, not even including all the magazines. And now, pre-COVID, I just put COVID stuff up there. Now I post stuff about, hey, how to buy car insurance, how to buy the right cell phone. I even posted a thing on extension for wigs because half my circulation is female, and people are linking, oh, it's not just work. I've got life. I've got other things in my life other than just work. So
definitely.
It's just, so I get these blogs. People are like, oh my God, you got all sorts of stuff on there. I'm like, I know.
Right. It's constant. Content is king.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I tell you.
So listen, if you got any cool projects out there, I look at everything and I'll come back to you. Very tough to get in the magazine, but listen, we can find anywhere on the social media. I always tell you, I know you're sick of hearing it, but if you don't buy a ticket, if you want to play lottery, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. You don't send me something, I can't find it. I can't, publish it, send you the link and all that stuff. So if you got something cool, let me be the judge and my edit staff and, we'll take care of it. So
cool.
Heidi.
So cool. Thank you.
Seeing you.
And, we're going to have you on our podcast next. So Roofing Road Trips.
Listen, I love being on I love
favorite podcast.
It's the best being the guest. It's nice sitting in the other chair, once in a while.
Yes, I agree.
So everybody, listen, you got Memorial Day coming up. The summer's coming up. Q2's almost over. And, I can't believe it's almost halfway through, 2022 already. It's just like, blown by. But listen, everybody, keep the faith, stay happy, Memorial Day, enjoy time with family, friends. Don't think about work, get out there, get some fresh air and, recharge your batteries and get ready for the summer. And, kids will be getting out of school, graduations, the proms are all going on, and all that stuff. So, look, 2022, I thought was going to be an amazing year. And like, just in general, every day, there's so much that happens politically, personally, and business. I mean, I can't even keep up with it. I get up in the morning and then at the end of the day, I'm done. I'm like, oh my God, and it's just unbelievable. So every day is exciting. And, and guess what? The sun's going to come up tomorrow. You might not see, it could be cloudy, but it's going to come up. So with that said, Heidi, say goodbye out west, up in the Northwest.
Goodbye. And thank you so much. This has been awesome.
And I'm going to say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam at Lake Lanier. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. This is David Corson. your host, and this is my guest, Heidi. Say goodbye one more time.
Goodbye. Thank you all.
We'll see you next time, and take care. Talk to you later.